Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Legacy Leaders. Today, I'm joined by Mercedes Prodan from SynqrOS. And she is, believe it or not, another person that can help you build a better business. But she has a different approach than I do. Not that it's wrong, not that it's better, it's just different. And you're going to find out throughout our conversation today, we're a lot more similar than we are different. So, with that in mind, I'm going to turn the microphone and the camera over and let Mercedes introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself and her story. So, Mercedes, it's all yours. Tell us your story.
Thanks, Scott. So good to be here with you today. Thank you so much for having me. Obviously, you introduced me a little bit. My name is Mercedes Prodan. I am a fractional executive operator and the CEO of SynqrOS. Really, my story is that for years I worked inside really fast growing companies and I kept seeing the same pattern, right? Like brilliant leaders who have these $1 million ideas living inside their heads. They have really strong teams. They have great ideas, like I said, and just total chaos happening behind the scenes. And so I started calling those half dug holes. Everyone's kind of digging hard, everyone's working, but they're constantly pivoting before that hole is actually deep enough to matter. They have a new strategy, they have a new initiative, a new priority, new fire to put out really over and over and over. So, what I found out was that there are plenty of smart and capable people inside of businesses, but without a rhythm and a structure, I felt like I was just watching a hamster on a wheel in a boardroom constantly. And I wanted to do things different. I wanted to build a new way of working. I wanted to integrate execution with energy and timing. And I wanted there to be alignment and
Yeah.
coherence in terms of how work gets done. And I wanted founders and leaders to stop feeling burnout. Like I suffered
Mm,
burnout myself, and I wanted them to stop feeling like you just got to put in more hustle. You have to be more disciplined. You have to be more committed to the mission, right? It's not really how it works. It's you need a better rhythm. You need to be more
yeah.
aligned in what works for you. And so I set out to do just that.
I love it. There's so much here that we can just tap into and keep going. But I love the idea of burnout and the way you approached it. I look at burnout in the following way. Burnout exists in the void of achievement. If you think about it, no one's burnt out if they're doing what they wanted to do and they're successful. The only reason you get burnt out is you're working the same thing, doing the same thing, and getting no results. So burnout happens when you're just not achieving what you wanted to. So to your point, let's get you into a rhythm. Let's get you the right structure, the right focus, and then you don't get burned out. But when people start burning out, it flames out quickly, and we want to avoid that. So I appreciate the conversation about that. But looking at it from I want to find a better way of doing things. What are some of the bigger challenges that you encounter as a fractional operator? Like, what is it that most people come to you for?
Most people come to me when there is lack of execution, right? Like I said
Mhm.
earlier, those half dug holes. And it's simply that they don't have the right person in the right seat, or they don't understand what the North Star is. And when I say North Star, I mean what is the key priority that's actually going to get us to that goal. They don't
Hmm.
understand what is that key priority that's actually going to move the needle, and what are those micro actions that need to happen in order to make that thing actually get across the finish line. And so a lot of founders will come to me when they're struggling with lack of execution. They start feeling like, are the people on my team incompetent? Are they capable? What is going on? Why is this not happening? We need more accountability. And again, I often find it's not lack of accountability or lack of people wanting to do it. It's simply we're in the wrong season for this. Should not be the priority that we're trying
Yeah.
to move forward right now.
The other one I think I always finds its way into a CEO or a founder's mind is the squirrel or the shiny object that they constantly get distracted by. And I always, and when I try to explain to somebody what it is that we do, right? I look at it, I say, I take the peripheral view that most people have, and they think they're covering 180 degrees, and they're doing amazing because they're doing all these great, wonderful things. And I put them into a tunnel vision of these are the three things, and the three things only we're going to attack in the next 90 days. And everyone gets frightened and says, I can get so much more done in 90 days than just these three things. And the argument back is, well, if you could have, why haven't you? So let's focus. And I love the phrase, let's slow down to speed up. So instead of trying to do 17 things half-assed, let's do three things full bore. And when you're done, Move then on to number four. Until then, focus your energy on what needs to be done because you'll realize once you have focus, man, everything just changes. But they're so busy trying to be everything to everyone that they can't relate to what is right now the most important thing. They always find the shiny object. What's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, always a shiny object. And I find often that a lot of people in business are scared of the plateau, right? But
Mm,
the truth is that nothing in nature, period, exists in a perpetual spring. And many business owners, many leaders are sold somehow this fantasy that growth should just be a constant and vertical, right? And when it's
hmm
they start to panic, and that's when they're chasing shiny objects because I should be moving right now. But reality is that plateaus are integration seasons, right? They're when your system starts to catch up. It's this universal pattern that I see in all businesses, and it's that they're operating, let's say they're in a winter season, they're trying to plant seeds, right? Or they're in a harvest season, but they are launching new initiatives, or they're exhausted, but they're like, I'm gonna keep running, and they call it ambition, right? It's like, no, you're just in
hmm
season here.
Uh, it's interesting. Excuse me. Everybody opens a business with the mind of, I can't wait to be rich. I can't wait to have this lifestyle. I can't wait to do this. But all they do is speed themselves up beyond the waiting and doing the work to get to that point,
Mm,
right? They're so anxious to be the CEO and boss of their own world that they never bother to create their world. They're just hoping to get to that world, but you got to put in the legwork, right? At some point, you actually have to go make a sales call. Sometimes you actually have to put marketing efforts down. And what is my message? What is my mission for this business? As opposed to just, I open my doors. Where's my $1 million business? Where'd it go? Well, you got to build it first, and then you get a chance to live the life you've always wanted to. People love to put the cart before the horse.
that's true. And I actually just made a LinkedIn post today, coincidentally, about I had an old boss who used to say something like, no one ever built a book of business, i.e., just a business in general, by sitting at their kitchen table. And so he was basically
hmm
saying that to younger generations that he felt were unwilling to put in the work, kind of what you're saying. But he would say it all the time. And I used to think that it was really old school of him. And I would advocate, people are allowed to have, there's digital age, there's digital presence, but the truth is that business, any sort of business that you have, is a relationship business. And relationships are all about relating to other people. And if you don't get on that sales call and you don't get in a room and show people your energy and help them be around your vibe, they're simply not going to think of you when the time comes that they need something
hmm
that you give.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to think of somebody when you're never first of mind. I've never even been introduced to, nor do I understand who you are. So why would
Right.
I ever think of you?
Yeah. And I'm never going to look at someone's website. That's not my style. And I think that there's plenty of people who might look at your website, right? But that is not really how I'm going to relate to you. I want to sit in a room with you and understand who you are as a person.
Yeah. Well, that I think that's a much that's a consultant, teacher, coach mentality of you can look at my website. You'll find out everything you need to know about me. You'll find out if you really wanted to run a business, just look at my website. It's got all 6 steps. It's got everything you ever need, but it doesn't have me, right? You need somebody to actually not hold your hand, but to guide you through the waters of rough waters, calm waters, rapids. That's what we do as consultants or operatives, like you said, or like you are. We help people do that. And you're right, you're not going to find that on my website. You can find out how to do it on your own, but you won't succeed because you need somebody that is looking out for you that doesn't have the same vision that you do. And that's why I really like what we do is we're the third party outside view that says it sounds good what you're saying, but if you look at it in reality, probably not the right decision. Or here's
Absolutely.
a different way to look at it, and let's pursue this path a little bit so you can see there's another option, right?
Absolutely.
It's crazy. I think there's such a mindset towards, oh, I took this course, or I read this book, I listened to this podcast, and I know exactly what I need to do next. Okay, how come you haven't done it yet? How come it's been 6 weeks since you saw that and you haven't implemented anything? Why don't we talk about what are the challenges and barriers to get you over your hump? And you listed out a couple of them, but when you have somebody come to you, what's their number one like mindset barrier that people have when it comes to who they are, who they want to be? What's the difference, and why can't they become that person they've always wanted to be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, it's like those doubts creeping in, and I have to find somebody else to mirror that back to me, right? So for me
Yeah.
personally, like I'll usually get stuck when I'm living too much in my head. So those thoughts are really, um, you can guess what they're going to be, right? It's like, I'm not ready, this thing isn't ready. Let's wait a little bit longer. It's like that perfectionistic attitude. And what really changed and helps me personally get out of that is bringing a different perspective, right? Whether that's some kind of external structure, I might call up Scott and get his framework. How would you go about
Mhm.
this problem, right? Some kind of external eyes, some kind of external truth, essentially, right? Because when we sit in isolation with our own problems, it magnifies that distortion.
Yeah.
And leadership is actually about reflection. It's the most powerful tool we have is just sitting with ourselves and allowing those answers to come up on their own and giving someone else the mirror, right? It's like, hey, Scott, can you hold this
Hmm.
for me real quick so I can get a good, hard, long look at myself?
Hmm.
So that's for me personally. I've seen other kind of hard mind shifts in work and when I work with clients. It's like the belief that well, first of all, they built this business. Typically, I'm working with founders who have built a business, right? And to them,
Yep.
that's the baby. And so they get stuck in this mindset of, oh my God, I'm handing my child over to a stranger that I either don't feel is capable or don't feel is competent. And when
Yeah.
they do that, they create the biggest bottleneck that could ever exist in their business by making sure that everything runs through them. And then they start to get exhausted and they have decision fatigue and they start to just kind of question everything. So those are the two kind of biggest humps that I see both
Yeah.
personally and in the clients that I work with.
Yeah. It's an interesting perspective. I'm going to read into what you said and twist it into what I would regurgitate out.
Cool.
Um, Ego and humility get in the way of a founder finding the success they say they've always wanted, but refuse to do. And I say that because most people, well, this is all I know. This is how I've been doing it for years, and I'm going to keep doing it. As opposed to saying, whatever I've done to get me right here isn't going to get me any better. So what can I do to change? And how do I get out of my way? Very rarely do you have somebody do that on their own. So that's why they need someone like yourself to step in and give them that third eye perspective, give them that different viewpoint to say, I understand where you're trying to go, but that's not the right direction or the right way to go about getting in that direction. What I would suggest is let's take a step back and look at it differently. And I think it's a better way of doing things, but there's so many people that are refusing to let their ego step out of the room so they can actually have a good conversation, not only with themselves, but with whomever they're trying to work with to make them better. What are you
Yeah.
thinking? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point and something that I hear a lot. I also use the phrase of what got us here won't get us there, right?
Yeah.
And I'll hear back from clients, well, no one else will do it like I do. Well, good, because you're stuck, right? It's not working for you. So let's shift it up,
Hmm.
bring another perception. It is true that no one's going to do it like you do. But if you're not going to let go of control, again, you're becoming that bottleneck. And the very thing that you're trying to grow then becomes dependent on your exhausted self. And that is not being a leader, right? That's being a martyr. That's like simply being a martyr, and that is ego fulfilling.
100%. And it's such a narcissistic way of looking at it to say nobody else can do it the way I do. Okay, but let's take a different perspective. What if somebody could do it better than you? And
Yeah,
all you have to do is step out of the way. And believe it or not, you could still get paid as a company to have somebody better than you do it. And you don't have to do the work, but pay them to do the work.
yeah,
Never,
absolutely.
and I just love, I call it the Romeo and Juliet light upon yonder window moment. Like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Like, duh. Like, you started a business so you wouldn't have a job. Why are you still working so hard? Let's find a way to get you into a place where the business works when you're not there. So instead of turning a wrench every day, write down how you do it, build yourself a system, and find somebody to do exactly what you do, teach them how to do it, and then you stand there and watch them do it and make money while they're
Yeah,
doing the work. Like that's such a simple concept, but you'd be shocked. And I'm not you, but the general audience, I guess, it would be shocked to learn how many people just won't get out of their way because nobody else does it the way I do. And it's
yeah.
like those are the worst words in business, along with, well, that's the way we've always done it. Oh, I just want to shiver every time I hear that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of some sort, though, right? Like, there was a belief that I used to struggle with, which was if I'm successful, it's going to cost me my family, right? Because I've seen
Yeah.
so many leaders sacrifice marriages, sacrifice relationships with their kids, their health, all in the name of I'm growing a company. And so subconsciously, I believed that if I become successful, I'm going to lose what matters most to me. And
Hmm.
so I would slow myself down and I would self-sabotage and I would shrink momentum by placing myself back into I'm not good enough. I'm not going to, I would just basically pause and just stand at this like frightened, scared little child, essentially, because it is all from childhood. But it's like sometimes it's self-fulfilling because that is the subconscious belief. And so
Hmm.
self-sabotage does exist. And I once heard this theory, and I can't remember what book it's from, unfortunately, but there's like a barometer, and let's say it's up to 100, and then the closer do you get to 100, which is like empowering and stepping into your full power. Let's say you hit 92, you're going to be like, oh, that's really scary, and I'm going to self-sabotage and bring myself
Yeah.
back to 85 where I'm more comfortable, right? So the closer you get to actually pushing past that edge, the more you actually just do things that are sabotaging that success. And so I think what you were just saying speaks to that too. Is like sometimes they actually cannot let go of it because there's some kind of subconscious belief that is holding them back.
Yeah, the one thing I love that you said is success comes at a cost, but what cost? And then you start diving into like I can't do this. If I do this, I'll lose my family. If I do this, I'll lose my health. I'll do this, I'll lose my relationships. But why do we put such a negative connotation on being successful? What if you turn that around and had a positive mindset that says, when I'm successful, I still will have this relationship. When I'm successful, I still will have my marriage. When I'm successful, I'll still have these relationships with my friends, family, and my children. Like that's a different mindset. And if you do it the right way, what's most important to you, you put it at the top of your priority list and you take care of first anyway. So why do we do that? And it's crazy that we, to your point, self-sabotage because it makes no sense to do it, but everybody loves to do it. There was an
Everybody.
interesting, I'm sorry, there was an interesting experiment that I read about. The exact same job description was put out to a group of or middle level managers. The same job description. One was for $70,000. The other one was $250,000. Nobody that was making $50,000 signed up for the $250,000 job because they didn't think they were qualified. But it was the exact same job description. The only difference was how much money you would make. So, to your point, the self-sabotage is, well, I couldn't possibly get that job. They make too much money. Well, they do the exact same thing you do. Why won't you put yourself out there? Because what
Yeah.
if I'm successful? That whole thing of what if I'm successful? I just want to tell somebody, yes. What if you're successful? Yes. The answer, yes.
Yeah. And my co-founder actually speaks a lot to this of like, okay, let's talk about what if you are successful and like name all of the
Hmm.
bad things. And if those things happen, guess what? Like it's still not the end of the world, right? So like what if?
Hmm.
And it's just like placing that in front of your face and exactly what I said earlier of holding the mirror and making me say, "Oh, I guess that's not that bad actually," right? Like
No,
typically whatever we're fearing is not actually the end of the world. It's just
it's
that
not that bad.
we are not sure of what to expect, and that is where the fear becomes debilitating.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too is your peer group has a lot to do with it. Brad Sugar's a guy who does Action Coach. He says, in 5 years, the people you associate with, the books you read, and the actions you take will determine where you stand. And you never really pay attention to it until you read it again, and you're like, you know what? If I surround myself with turkeys, I can't fly with eagles. Got it. But it's deeper than that. It's how many people live the same lifestyle or live the same mindset that you do. That's who you want to be attached to. Don't be hanging around people that have no ambition to start their own business. Go to a networking group and find business owners that have been successful and talk to them. Ask them questions. What did they do? How did they build their business? Not that you need to do it the exact way they did, but the mindset that you have when it's shared with other people in your sphere of influence, it has a much stronger impact than every once in a while you talk to somebody like you, because then it's only once in a while. But if you surround yourself with people, they'll really help you. At least that's my thought process. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. You are the sum of the people that you spend time around. So I
Yeah.
just recently joined a club that has a co-working space for that exact reason because I
Yeah.
felt so stifled working from my current office environment, kept running up against the same walls and issues and lacking creativity and just being distracted, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be around other people who were actually pushing themselves to grow, either personally or professionally. And so, this space, even in the last week, I mean, I've made so many new connections and I can feel the buzz inside of me. And I feel so good just being in an environment and container that is for growth and for just personal development in general.
Yeah, you just made a comment about growth. And at one point, I think I posted something on social media about a goldfish will only get as big as the bowl or the aquarium or the pond that it's set in. And the question then is, do you want to hang out in a bowl, an aquarium, or a pond? You could be the biggest fish in that bowl, you could be the biggest fish in that aquarium, but what if you were the biggest fish in that pond? Why are you so reluctant to get out of the bowl into the aquarium, out of the aquarium into the pond? Because you're comfortable, right? That's where everybody seems to fall short is I get to a point where I'm comfortable, then I don't want to leave. You know
Yeah.
what? Anxiety is a good thing. And I say that because anxiety is telling your brain, or your brain is telling you through anxiety, that I'm not comfortable. Good. Use that. Charge yourself with that and say, if I'm uncomfortable right now, what can I learn to be better prepared? What can I do to be better prepared? And how could I perform knowing I want to get rid of anxiety? If you can think about it from that positive mindset, man, it changes your whole outlook on what's going on. Then
Yeah.
you're not so anxious. You're not so afraid. You're not worried about every little nook and cranny. You're worried about what possible as opposed to what could break you down. I
Yeah.
just think it's a better way of looking at life.
I really appreciate that mindset. And I would even push it a little bit further that the most successful people that I know put themselves in uncomfortable positions, right? Like I know a lot
Hmm.
of people who do contrast therapy. I live in Austin, right? So it's like all about biohacking and wellness, but it's the theory that when you put yourself in an uncomfortable position, you are proving where your priorities lie, right? You're choosing discomfort over comfort so that you can grow. And I think that that's really important that you're going to just become stifled. You'll continue to live in your comfortable environment, but you won't continue to grow. And there's no right or wrong. It's basically, what do you want? Do you want to grow? Do you want
Yes.
to go back and allow this business to run on its own, or do you want to keep just being where you are? Neither is right or wrong. It's all your choice, and that's the beauty of being a human, right? But
Right? No, you're allowed to do whatever you want to. But there's consequences to your actions and the decisions that you make, right? So you think about it. If I am comfortable and I survive, and I would not say I live, I say I survive if I'm comfortable. Okay. But if you put yourself on the edge and you get a little uncomfortable and you get a chance to grow, now you're truly living because you're getting a chance to experience stuff you've never done before, enjoy the things you're experiencing because now it's new or refresh, or it's such a solid, great experience, you want to go do it again, right? There's something to be said for that. And
move
I, and
from
I,
thriving essentially, right? Like you're surviving, but now you're growing to a point where you're actually thriving and enjoying life and
yeah.
feeling fulfilled.
And 100%. And this goes to it. I want to know what your thought is on this because as of late, I went to a networking group, great opportunity, met a number of different people. And through conversation, some want to continue, some would like to figure out what they want to do. So it's a great way to meet people and talk through some stuff. But I met a solopreneur. And I asked the question, so what do you do? How long have you been doing it? What's the biggest challenge in your industry? That kind of stuff. And I finally just said, based on the conversation, because it wasn't going anywhere, I said, do you want to be a solopreneur for the rest of your life? Or do you really want to grow and scale this? Like, what's your thought process? And the person stopped, almost froze, and had no idea what that question meant to them, other than to say, well, I'm comfortable. I make a good living. I'm fine. So, okay, with all due respect, there's not much I can do to help you.
Mm,
And if you're looking for something else, by all means, let's talk. But if you're comfortable where you are and you have no interest in moving forward, I'm really not the person for you because I can't do anything for you.
yeah.
I'm curious, how often have you run across that?
No, I actually had someone tell me that. I started, when I started becoming a fractional COO on my own, I talked to this lady who's like a fractional guru or something. I don't know. I found her on LinkedIn. Someone introduced me to her, and she asked me that same question. She's like, "Do you want to have employees one day?" And I was like, I don't know. She said, "Do you know
Yeah.
what kind of revenue?" I don't know. And so then you just stay in this like comfortability stage of just
Hmm.
like, I don't know. And that speaks to what I said earlier about people just not really having a North Star and not understanding what that key priority is
Mhm.
because they don't know what they're even going for. So how do you make priorities if you don't know what the goal is, right? How do you
Right.
train for a marathon if you don't know how many miles you need to train for?
Exactly. And I'm not to say I wouldn't be able to help a solopreneur. Let's get that clear, right? I can, obviously, but it's almost as if somebody wants to learn how to ice skate and I'm not an ice skate coach. Why would you come talk to me? You are so comfortable being who you are that you don't want to grow. I'm not that person. I'm the person that's going to help you grow and build and do something different. And quite frankly, that might be a boring engagement. And then we're not going to work well together. So I think it's best that we don't work. But if you are a solopreneur and you want to do great stuff, yeah, let's get after it. Let's make some stuff happen.
Mhm.
Yeah. What's been your number one lesson since you've started your business? What would be the one thing if you had a chance to stand in front of a room and say, the number one thing you should look out for is this, and this is how I solved it?
Hmm. Well, it's going to go on theme with what everything I've said, but I thought about this a little bit earlier too, and it's that I have often thought over the years that I have to show up in a certain way to be taken seriously. So, especially as a
Okay.
woman, I think that I will try and be impressive, right? Like I have to perform as the CEO, maybe polished or predictable, or maybe I should wear a blazer, right? And that's cool. Like I do wear a blazer sometimes, but like I also wear a crop top, and I'm also a CEO that has three nose piercings. And I feel that neither makes me more or less competent. And what I found is that when I actually show up in my authentic energy, I just start to attract the right rooms. I start to
Yeah.
attract the right clients that actually will work with me and that we're going to have success together. I attract the right partnerships. And that goes back to what I said earlier is that you can't build real relationships from any sort of performance, right? Like
Yeah.
people will feel authenticity every single time. And the most expensive mistake that I've ever done is to dilute myself to appear more presentable to the room that I'm in. It wastes my time, it wastes my energy, and it never has resulted in business. And so, and I still find myself
Hmm.
back into that pattern occasionally. Like when fear sets in, it's like, oh, I need to be this or this in order to
Hmm.
this success. But I think that that is what I've learned the most is that when I show up as me in my own authentic energy, things just click, right? And when I don't, they don't.
Well, that, if anything, would be one of the best lessons that anybody watching today could take home. Your authentic self is the best self. And if somebody loves your energy, damn, let's connect. It's a really good attraction. If it's not, then we weren't going to work together anyway. So
Absolutely.
stay true to who you are. That's one of the things that I force onto my clients a lot is we need to get your value down. Like, what's your value proposition? What's your culture going to look like? Right? So who are you as a business? You'll attract the right people to you and you'll repel people, and that's fine. As long as you're true to who you are, it's okay to let people know what you stand for. That's
Yeah.
okay. I don't need to be everybody's everything. I just need to be the right person for the people that want what I have to offer. And through that, my authentic self shines. So I appreciate you saying that. That's a really good one.
Yeah, absolutely. And anytime you try and follow someone else's recipe for success, right? I think it goes along the same vein of just, no, that worked for
Mhm.
them because it worked for them. If you're trying to copy that, and I've seen other people talk about this on LinkedIn and talk about it in networking groups, if you're trying to talk and copy someone else's structure, it's almost never going to work for you.
Well, it has to be yours, right? Because if if you're not doing the right thing by your own accord, your own values, then you're copying, and you can't be a good. It reminds me of the movie Multiplicity with when they have a copy of a copy. Did you ever see that movie? By chance?
No.
Oh, okay. It's hysterical. Michael Keaton, awesome. But they clone somebody and then they clone somebody else from the clone, and he's half mentally gone, right? The point being, if you're not your authentic self and you're copying somebody else, you're not going to be very good at it. You're just
Mhm.
not.
Yep.
Last thing I want to ask you. It's a good question, so bear down, right?
Okay.
I'm gonna put you in a time machine, and I'm gonna send you back, and you get a chance to meet 18-year-old Mercedes.
Hmm.
You guys sit down on a park bench. What's that conversation sound like?
Wow. Um, Probably it's going to get better than you ever imagined that it would be. And to listen to myself and my intuition, kind of similar to what we just said, is like stay true to yourself and find out who
Yeah.
you are. examine who you are and find out what you want to do with your life. Because I spent so many years just wearing masks and stepping into rooms that
Yeah.
I didn't need to be in just for the sake of, oh, that's what they want me to do. It took me until my 30s to learn who the heck I am and what I even like to do and what I like to wear and what I like to say and all of the things, and still things that I'm learning all the time. Like I have a new hairdo today. This is experimental. Like, I don't know. Do I like it? Maybe. But
You
yeah,
never know.
if I were sitting with 18-year-old Mercedes, it would just be to not be afraid to be myself and to actually just sit with myself and allow that to emerge.
That's a great piece of advice. And the one thing that you made comment to, and I want everyone in the audience to resonate with, I'm going to get a chance to learn and constantly learn. That's what I pulled out of that from you. And
Mhm.
that's what makes you a better person. Just
You know what's
learn.
beautiful? The beautiful about the human experience is that it is all trial and error, every single thing. And you can,
100%.
we're all going to walk the path that we're set out to walk. This is my theory. We're all going to walk the path we're set out to walk in life. And you can stand there and be frozen in fear of being who you are or trying something new or, it's not ready yet. Or you can just take a oops, detour, oops, detour. And it's
Yeah.
all where it is. But the step forward is actually how you start to see momentum compound because you chose
Hmm.
to actually walk forward. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The actions you take actually make a difference. And if you make no action, you might as well just not do anything because you're not making any progress to step forward.
Absolutely.
This was great. Believe it or not, it's been longer than a half an hour, so we're good to go. This has been a great
Awesome.
conversation. I want to thank you for being a part of it. And anyone looking to get in touch, all Mercedes information will be down below. We'll see everybody on the next episode.
Great day.